They told me never say me want be another vice. Only the worst my when them pocket empty. Them wicked long time from 19th century, but the era, yeah. Them pre-evil differently. Yet me true, me weird little we offend the way them they when me never used to have all panty. War rich like Rihanna Fenty, but if you think look empty, then you eat has plenty. Worse by a Bentley that deadly we send you go cemetery. Me no friendly, me face to them use it tense. Hard them provoke me to rap, but when me answer them flip it and say me are the instigator. When they argue them say Beyonce would never true. Okay, guys, welcome today to our live. It's Friday once again, guys. So, we just want to welcome the viewers, and today we have with us two special guests. We have Shanisha and we have Dominic. So, the topic, as you know, it's women in wealth, and as we know in today's society, women are the ones who actually they spend the money, even though sometimes the men they work more money, but men they don't really do much shopping. They don't like going on the mall, and if they do, they just drop you off or they just linger with us. You know how that goes. So we are bringing this live to you today, women and wealth. So I will allow Shanisha and Dominique to introduce themselves, starting with Shanisha.
So, great evening, everyone. I'm Shanisha Dixon Tyrell. I'm a financial coach. And so I've been in the industry for about 7 years now, actually, about 8 years now, working as a financial coach.
All right, everybody. My name is Dominique Dorslin. I am currently in the financial industry. Work at a couple of different banks for the total of years, about 9 years. And I also do credit repairs. Been doing it for a couple of months now.
Okay, thank you guys, and we're just gonna let the ball keep rolling. So, how many of you today would like to get out of poverty, change that mindset? I mean, many times we sit down and we wonder where the next money is coming from. Sometimes the expenses, they're more than our revenue or the income that's coming in. So today we're here to just talk about that, our experiences, and we have the experts here who can give you some advice. So for me, I can start by saying that I have struggled a long time, and I've always, tried to find out what can I do to make ends meet. I mean, I've always heard that it's not what you work, but it's what you save. And trust me, sometimes even when I used to pay tithing, and they also say that you have to pay that 10%. And when I look at my pay, sometimes before I get the pay, I'm like, okay, how am I going to do this? How am I actually going to do this? So, I mean, many a times I may have to find another job, two, three jobs, trying to hustle to make ends meet. And with that being said, sometimes it takes a toll on my body. And in order to stay healthy, you got to take care of yourself because health is wealth as well. Am I right, ladies and
Absolutely.
gentlemen?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I mean, anyone else want to share their story? I mean, how they, may have been in poverty and how they came out, or if they're in it and trying to get out. Vanille, what says you?
I would like to share my story.
Okay.
Definitely when I was younger, I have bad habits, very, very bad habits that I'm paying for it when I got a little bit older. But it's, I just want to say that if you currently have a job, make sure you invest in yourself, meaning that put money away, put it into savings account, or put it in a 401k. That is very extremely important because let's say you started working at 18 years old and you've been to work and you work at a bank. Just use that for example, and you spend about 5 years there and you've been putting money away to a 401k. You could use that money in the future to help you out. Maybe start your own business. Maybe invest in your home. So it's very important to start when you're young. I feel like a lot of youngsters don't know what to do when they get a job. They don't know what to save. They don't know how to save. So I think it's very important that we educate each other on how to save and use that money to create another revenue for us. Like I said, use that money to maybe start a new business like myself. I like I said, I decided to start my own business because I'm getting tired of working for other corporations.
Mhm.
So I have that additional side hustle. And when I feel comfortable enough, I'm gonna leave that 9 to 5. I'm gonna leave it so I could maybe start another venture once I have my steady income with my side job. Maybe start a new adventure. So it's creating multiple streams of income. Save money and invest in yourself.
But I have a question for you, Dominique. Okay, so you have like single parents, male and female,
Yes.
and they may be the ones who have the children. Now, I want to ask you one question.
Yeah.
How did you, I don't know if you have like a family, like if you have kids or whatever, but how did you find the transition? I mean, to save and then to have to create your own business. I mean, how easy was that? And I mean, how easy is that for others who may be in a different situation than you are?
I don't feel like for me it definitely wasn't easy. I had to do a lot of sacrificing. You have to sacrifice. I had to stop going out, going to the clubs, stop going out buying bottles, stop going out spending money on clothes, and use that money to save up to start a new adventure. You have to sacrifice. If you don't invest in yourself, who will? So you have to sacrifice something to build yourself up. And and budgeting. Make sure you budget and write things down. Have goals for yourself. Take it one step at a time. That's how I started my own business. I had to sacrifice.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, it's easier said than done.
Definitely.
It's easy, but I really like the fact that you mentioned that you have to sacrifice because sometimes we ladies we like to do our nails, we like to get our hair done, we buy the extensions. I mean, new clothes, new handbag, the latest style. You know what I'm saying? So
And
it's
I go ahead. I'm sorry.
you can go ahead, Dominique.
I mean, I feel that all right. You can sacrifice, yes, but find other ways to substitute something that is expensive. Maybe find another route to maybe cut that expense in half.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say for you to do your hair, it costs you about maybe like $300. Find another way to cost for it to cost 150. Now that when you cut that in half, you use that invest in something, or you put it in a savings account. Cut all your expenses that you don't need, cut it in half.
Me.
And, right.
Exactly. I'd like to chime in on that. I think that's important that we miss that. The point in a sacrifice is it's supposed to hurt.
Yes.
That's the whole. If we look at going back to even if we want to look at scripture, sacrifice is supposed to hurt, right? Because that's what makes it worthwhile. And so it's going to be a challenge, right? But yeah, and we may like the nice things, but self-care doesn't always have to be in the mindset of materialistic items, right? It's about doing the good. It's a deed, right? Doing the things that will make you feel good, right? And so just because we don't have the latest bag doesn't mean that we don't treat ourselves good, right? You looking in the mirror, giving yourself a 5-minute free distraction, look in the mirror and telling yourself how amazing you are, how much you love it. That's self-care, right? Taking a shower, a bath, right? Undistracted. That's self-care. And I think that's the things that we miss. And so for a year, 2 years, you stop doing the things that you're accustomed to, the luxuries of your life. Those are the things that will put you on path so that you can do well, or get on track for your business, right? Or whatever future investment you would like to make in yourself. So what Dominique said is absolutely true. And you have to invest in yourself. That's the best investment you will ever make. People always say, well, Shanisha, what's the latest stock? When's real estate going to hit? None of that matters if you don't invest in you first. So that's a great tip. Thank you, Dominique, for that.
No problem. Thank you for the piggyback. I really appreciate it.
Well, like you said, it hurt. It should feel comfortable, and
Right.
that is true because, like from the get go, when I said how does one really do that? Because like it's gonna take a shift. It's gonna take you out of your comfort zone. That is for real. And then I'm sure we have to learn to prioritize where we talk about the urgent and important. then the urgent, then the important, and then the not so urgent, not so important. And like Dominic also used a very operative word there, need. The things
Mm-hmm.
that we need, not what we want, you know? So it's hard, but we have to make that sacrifice because like you said, if we need a home, if we need a brand like a nice car, dream car, you know, or the kids, let's put the kids, let's even talk about the kids. We have a child here online as well. College funds, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, we have to think about their future as parents, you know. We
Exactly.
can't allow them to also go through the struggles that we went through, so we at least have to set a foundation for them, you know, leaving a legacy behind. So Talisa, I mean, what is your take?
Well, okay. A good night, everyone.
Good night.
What Miss Shanisha and Mr. Dominique are saying about sacrifice, I've seen firsthand, I've witnessed firsthand people sacrificing things so that their future, they can enjoy their future, or, make their kids enjoy their future. So I agree with what they're saying about the sacrifice and investing in yourself. And also make sure prioritize what you need, as well as said for the kids. So the example that you use very great about the college funds. So I agree with what is being said so far.
So have you as a child ever had to sacrifice?
I mean, yes, but it okay. So when I was in primary school at the time, I had a BlackBerry
What?
phone, a button phone, but I wanted a touch screen. So I used to save some of my lunch money. So then I couldn't buy the big lunches that, or like what the lunch money could buy. I had to like put on some until I saved $13,000 to buy the touchscreen phone that I wanted to buy. So that's really my sacrifices so far in the past.
Okay. Well, even the child is saying it, so
I would like to say also, I feel that everybody needs to have some time to themselves and have a conversation with themselves and be honest about it. If you're looking for more income, sit down, brainstorm,
Mm-hmm.
think outside the box. Okay, I don't like my current situation. What can I do to make it better? What can I
Mhm.
do? I don't like my job. I don't like taking orders. I want to be in business by myself. What can you do? Sit down, grab a notebook, and start brainstorming. Start brainstorming. Start thinking. That's what you need to do. Write everything down. Start thinking.
I mean, Vanille, what do you say? Because I mean, I could say I could talk and go on because I learned the hard way. Because like you said, I had to take a stand and look at my life and be like, do I always want to be crying? Do I always want to be stressed? Because stress is not good for the body. You know what I'm saying? Like, do I always want to be in this situation? Like, I'm tired of being in this situation, but then what do I need to do? And then I had to start going to, you know, the natural nails, as you see, the natural here, you know, I mean, even though at times I do change up myself, but then I have to be prudent in my spending. And like you buy one thing that can serve you more than once, you know what I'm saying? Even though sometimes we go out in the streets and we buy the stuff on sale. So that's one other thing that I learned something too, because not that all the times that you see sales out there, you're gonna grab it because many times you buy it and it stays with you until it's expired, or you have to give it away and you don't make use of it. So that's another thing, you know, it goes back to what you need. So these are some of the things we're trying to throw out there to you guys, that, you know, if you've not yet started, you have your emergency fund, you know, your college fund, your house, your dream house fund, whatever it is. And that's why I have these two experts and they are the ladies here, and just to share our stories so that you can get something from here.
Well, for me, I think I've been making sacrifice for most of my life. But when I became a mother, that is when, the sacrifices that I started to make was more, because I said, okay, now I have this child who is depending on me. It's not about me anymore, but it's about that child. So the things that I would get for myself, I would say, do I need it, or do I want it because I have responsibility? So, but also for me, I don't do anything without a budget.
Okay.
And I try my best not to go over that budget. I've been told that I'm frugal. I've been told that I'm cheap. I don't care. When I'm buying stuff, I don't look at the label. I just look at what I think would look good on me or what is, nice. And then in terms of, I don't go to hairdresser often. I'd rather do it myself because I always, think about, okay, if I'm going to get a perm, let's say it's $70 US, and I'll say, okay, 70 times, and then I'll do the conversion in Jamaican dollars. And I would say, but I can get my hair done in Jamaica for like $10. Why would I spend 70 US to get a perm when I can spend 10 US in Jamaica and get it? So I get it done myself. I do my nails occasionally, and I don't wear makeup, not that I'm bashing anyone who does, but I just tend to do things more. I just tend to look at my needs more than my wants.
And
Okay,
you're
so for
wise
instance,
in your spending.
exactly. If I go into a store and they're having sale, I'll browse around. And if I'm looking at stuff, I think to myself, do I want this or do I need it? Okay, if I'm gonna pay $20 for a pair of jeans and I can wait and get it for $10, I can save that $10, and or make the sacrifice and say, okay, well, I don't need it. So
So I know that for you, Vanille, you also do couponing. Can you tell
I
us about
do.
that?
I do.
Couponing?
Yes,
Yes.
What is that?
she'll tell you.
Using coupons.
Oh, coupon. Okay, got it.
Okay, yes. I use coupons a lot, but during this quarantine, coupon has not been my best friend. Um, I tend to, and even with couponing can be very tricky because most of the times you will, not because you have the coupon to purchase something, that mean you need it. So with that too, you have to think about, do I need this? Do I need it because I have the coupon? Do I want it because I have the coupon, or do I need it? If something is $1, you have 50 cents off with the coupon, and you're gonna say, is this a want or a need because I have 50 cents off? Say for instance, you have five coupons. You're gonna get 5 items for $2.50. You don't need it, then you can save that $2.50. So coupon helped me a lot too to save on grocery bill, and it also helped me to save when I go out to eat, which we don't do often, because that's very expensive as well. So
I'm happy that you're touching all these little points here. So, like, how much on a given time have you ever saved using coupon versus if you had to spend your money?
sometimes I've saved $240, I've saved $180. Sometimes I'll save $70 depending on what I'm purchasing.
Well, 200 and something sounds a lot, even though nowadays it doesn't really buy a lot.
200, yes.
Well, that's a lot. I mean, that's a lot. Shanisha, have you ever tried couponing or do you know about that?
Well, I thought that couponing was like, I mean, a while back. I thought it was just like you go on with your coupon, but then I learned that there's a whole skill to it, and I don't know how to do that. But if I could learn that, that would be amazing because I look at some of the people's houses, they look like mini department stores, retail shops because they have so much stuff. Like literally, I have a friend who does couponing, and she has about 50. It feels like 50 cases of laundry detergent. 50 cases. I know that she never even had a problem with toilet tissue during Corona because she was already set from before.
Wow.
So yeah, so it's just like that's something that is definitely a lot of people can learn. Like you said, it's a skill, but my challenge with that is that, do we really need 50 at one time? When do you stop? And I feel that it can become a problem for certain people. And that's my only little concern with it. But that's part of learning discipline, and
Right.
that's what it's all about. Budgeting is about discipline.
But I
Right.
think I think what some people do, I've heard of it, it's a money making thing as well, because they actually use the coupon, pay little and nothing, and guess what? They stock up and then they start selling stuff.
Yeah, and see, if you're doing that, that's a-okay. That's fine, right? That's perfectly fine. That makes sense to me, right? But if it's for personal use and you're basically like hoarding it, that's when it becomes like a challenge. Because I wouldn't want anyone to, you're doing it to save, but then you've gotten so accustomed to it that you're kind of doing the opposite.
How do you counteract that, Vanille?
Well, not necessarily because for me, I have not purchased detergent in the last time I purchased detergent was in 2017.
Nice.
Oh,
What?
wow.
So
What?
yeah, that's the last time I purchased detergent was 2017.
Ooh.
So when I go grocery shopping, I don't have to think about, okay, I'm gonna be spending $25 a month or $30 a month just for laundry detergent. That $30, I can save that or I can invest that.
Absolutely.
So it's not about stocking up because, you don't need it or, you know,
Yeah,
but there's going to come at a point in time when you're going to need it.
exactly.
Okay, so as you mentioned, investment. Now, Shanisha, the floor is yours.
So,
Invest.
in regards to investment, that's like a wide array when it comes down to it. There's all types of investment. I know earlier Dominique had mentioned about saving in 401k. I have a little bit of a different philosophy, but not too far off from what he says, because I think that it's important that we understand our investments, right? And I get, you know, do putting a retirement plan in place through your job, having something is better than nothing. And that's where I will agree. Having something is better than nothing because um it's like a fallback plan, right? It's like a security, but when you really want to understand that, if I'm doing it right, that's when you really need to understand and know what you have and how it works. Because for example, let's say I have a 401k through my job, but I am a disciplined person. I am a saver, right? And my job offers me there's no benefits to real benefit. They don't offer me a match, right? What's the real advantage, right? Maybe it's saving me on taxes, right? Because it's a pre-tax situation, so maybe it's saving me with taxes a little bit, but outside of that, but in the long run, is my money really in a position of value, right? Maybe it's more convenient. It would be more convenient and beneficial to me if I go out and get something on my own, like a Roth IRA, right? So it's important that we kind of understand what we're getting as far as investments goes, and this is why it's important to consult with a financial advisor or a financial coach like myself, because that way, what we help you do is we help you understand where you currently are with your finances, and then we go through what your goals are, right? Because that's very important. Someone giving you financial advice and not analyzing or expressing interest in your goals is not the person to do your finances, right? It makes no sense. What point are they trying to get you to, right? So when we look at it, what we do is we analyze where you currently are, look at what your goals and dreams are, and then we build that bridge from where you are to your goals and dreams, right? And so, like I said, there's so many different types of investment, and I think that the best investment you can ever make, one, is to invest in yourself, right? As you mentioned before, and then part of investing in yourself is probably getting a coach, because you have to understand, most people, we pretty much got ourselves to where we are right now, right? And so then the follow-up question is, are we happy where we are, right, in our financial situation? And if there's room for improvement, then maybe we need someone to assist, right?
Right.
So it's like going to a gym, right, and working out. The person who's there with the trainer probably most likely will come out with more effective results than the person just going by themselves consistently, right? Not that they both won't see
Unless they're
results.
disciplined.
Say that one more time.
Unless they're disciplined.
Yeah, and no, not that they both won't see results. They'll both see results. However, if they're both being consistent, following and following a regimen, but one has a coach, that means that they have one notch up, they have accountability, they have a little more structure, they're going to probably end up with a little bit better results, or way better results. Why? Because they have accountability is important when we are striving to do better. Right, it's important. So it's important to hold someone accountable. So, for example, if I had a credit issue, right, if I had a shopping addiction, right, and I'm trying to get myself into a better credit card state, for me to try and do myself, once I see a little bit of improvement, God forbid I see something. It says you can apply for this credit card, and I'm just gonna want to test the waters without knowing the backlash, the effect, right, that will actually have on my credit score applying in that moment. Now I open this line of credit, and and I'm sure Dominique can take it from there and understand. But with the importance of me having a coach is that I can then say to my coach, look, they said that I can open up another line. Like, that's a good thing, right? And then they can say, that's a great thing, right? And then leave it at that. Now they're not going to say, yeah, open up to see if it actually is true. You guys get that? And so that's why it's important to have a coach when it comes down to investing. And then there's different areas. Like I said, you have stocks, right? You have different retirement plans within, like, mutual funds, right? You have real estate, right? ETFs. There's so many different options that we have when it comes down to investing. It's just important for us to understand, first of all, foremost, what is our strategy? What's our goal?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know how to say it, but how if somebody like the little man or the little woman who they would really like to invest in a coach, I guess they just have to be disciplined on their own until they reach a point where they can get a coach. I mean, what says you, Dominique? I mean, I don't know.
Well, I believe it's extremely important to get a coach because sometimes maybe your clients are not really educated on certain of a Shanisha. If somebody's working on their credit and they do see, hey, I've been pre-approved for a line of credit, and they apply for it and they got it and they spend the money, then they're stuck with a bill that they can't afford. So that's why it's very important to get a coach, because I can educate you on, hey, this is how much your debt is and this is how much you can afford. Instead of you seeing the opportunity, oh, let me get it and spend the money, now you're stuck trying to pay this off and you're struggling.
Right.
So now, if you were to invest in a coach, they can educate you on maybe how much you can spend and set a limit for you. So if you have a coach, you could prevent yourself from being in debt, and which could cause to have bad credit now.
Wow.
Well,
And if in this country, it's credit that runs the place.
So it's very important to invest in yourself and maybe do pay a coach, because it's going to help you in the long run, and maybe they can show you a few different strategies to help with your credit, and you can learn different ways to manage your money a little bit better.
Right. I know. So we have starting to jet, but we do have I think a life coach as well. We have Nicola Lopez. She just joined us. She's another special guest. I know she's driving, but Nicola, if you could briefly introduce yourself to the audience and to our members here on board.
Hey everyone, sorry I joined late. I just left my office. So I'm Nicola Lopez. I'm a certified life coach, but I go by a woman in mindset coach. I'm a corporate trainer for a major finance company, a bank. and also do consulting for another bank as well. I was a branch manager for a couple of years. So been in finance about 15 years. I also have some investment properties. I live here in California, but I have investment properties in Georgia and recently in St. Petersburg, Florida. So a little bit of experience under my belt in the finance world. And then, of course, as a certified life coach, originally from Jamaica. What else do you want to clear?
Wow, I am impressed, Nicola. I didn't even know that. I mean, I know much that the life coach and that you were VP at Chase, that JP Morgan Chase. Weren't you a vice president there?
Yes.
Right. That much I didn't.
Yes, and I do some consulting for U.S. Bank as well.
We didn't get that. You went out a little bit. Can you please repeat that?
I'm sorry, yes, and I also do some consulting for U.S. Bank as well.
Oh, cool, cool. I see you have a lot under your belt, lady. I don't know how you do it, but that's why we're here today. We're trying to share our experiences with the expertise and with the amateurs, so to speak, so that, others who are out there who are listening live to us today and may need some information, just to get out of that poverty mindset, like I said earlier, because it's the time to break out of that mindset. I mean, I don't want to be in poverty anymore. So I had to shuffle up. I had to be like, no, what do I do? So I had to get the ball going. And it's a sacrifice.
Yeah.
And it's a sacrifice, like we were saying earlier, so I mean, what do you have to give to our audience in terms of the wealth? As I mentioned earlier, we said that women most times in the home right now in today's society, they're the ones who do the spending. I mean, men, they may more than likely work more money, but the women are the one who know how to stretch the dollar. Some of them are spendthrift, they make other choices than the choices that are really necessary or needed. So that's the line where we're on. So, I mean, what is your input on that, Nicola?
And logical when it relates to funds. However, I know from experience in heterosexual relationships, women tend to take a back burner for whatever reason, because men, and this is Dominique, forgive me, I love men, but men tend to always want to be in control. And some women, unfortunately, especially in my coaching business, I see where the downfall to a lot of women losing their independence or just not being able to know exactly where things are, or honestly not able to leave relationships, is because for so long they have been taking the back burner because the husband is in control or the boyfriend is in control. And for some it's cute because, hey, my husband says not to work. I'm totally okay with someone saying to me, be a housewife. Well, I'm not personally, but I'm okay with someone saying to a woman, be a housewife. But I think that woman needs to understand what that means. There needs to be some type of contract. I need to know, okay, what am I getting from you weekly or bi-weekly or monthly? Does that mean I can't work from home? Does that mean, like, we need to understand as women, what exactly does that mean? Because unfortunately, finances is the number one reason why relationships don't work, whether it's a marriage or just cohabitating, whatever the case may be. And it's frustrating and it's sad when I see us as women having to stay in toxic situations or not having a voice, or really just not knowing what to say because ultimately someone else had all the say. So I think partnerships on a whole needs to be where both parties have a voice. And I think people need to play towards the strengths in relationships. It doesn't matter who wears the pants. It doesn't matter who's a man and who's a woman. Play to strengths in relationships. And women now, a lot of times we really are the forerunner of things in the house and going out there and trying to make it work and trying to do things and trying to hustle. And we need to get the credit for that.
I'm happy that what you shared with us, Nicola, is on a different side, because I mean, like you said, we would have thought that, the women, they had the upper hand in spending, but then you showed us a different side, and I'm sure, Shanisha, were we even thinking about that?
I mean, we didn't talk about it, but I definitely never forget that part of it, you know, because I think it's important for us to not forget that there is the woman. You know, I even personally have friends in that situation where they are dependent on a man because of maybe they decided that I'm going to, you know, stay home with the children and you'll be the provider, you know, and I think that it's important because situations, life happens, right? And when life happens, how, you know, what's the dependency? If there's a dependency there, then that could be a challenge, right? For you to remove yourself from that kind of situation. If there's a, you know, and I think that that's for, like, you know, Miss Nicola brought up a great point, you know, perspective, and it's one that I never, like I said, I never miss it because I just, you know, I've seen it.
Well, I mean, Vania, what's your take on that?
I'm a stay-at-home mom. I do get a monthly allowance, and I am in control of all finance.
So, Nicola, you hear the opposite here. She's saying that she's a stay-at-home mom. Was it your choice to stay at home, Vania?
Actually, it wasn't. It was my husband's choice. And I have been, and we have been doing very well.
Okay. So, Nicola, you hear we have one of the ladies here.
I
She's
didn't hear fully. But I heard she said it was they're doing well as a stay-at-home mom, and that goes back to the point where I made where I said it's not for me personally, because I know how I am. Like there's just no way for
Right.
me to stay at home. It's just not gonna happen. I'm not against it. What I'm saying, as I said in the beginning, is when that arrangement is being made, it truly needs to be an arrangement and not one that's just seen as, oh my gosh, that is so cute. My husband says not to work. You know, there has to be that understanding. What does that look like? What does that mean? Do I have to come to you every time I want to send money to my family back home? Do I have to come to you because I want to buy a pair of shoes? You know, like there needs to be guidelines and things put into place as to what that looks like, because ultimately it is a partnership. So if is it I think it's Delisa. I honestly don't know who was talking. I'm
Vanille.
sorry.
Vania.
It was who?
Vanille.
Okay, so sorry about that. So it sounds like you guys have a working plan, and that is perfect. And when it works because trust me, one of the reasons I couldn't be a stay-at-home mom is because it's hard work. Okay, it's cleaning and cooking and taking care of the kids and doing this and doing that, and I can't do that, right?
Right.
So I know it's hard work, and there's a lot of people, men and women, who somehow seem to think staying home is this glamorous lifestyle where it's easy, right? And I'm
No.
glad that it works for your family where you both understand that just because I stay at home doesn't mean that I don't provide value to this family and I don't bring value to this family. In fact, a lot of times, you know, the woman makes a decision, or even the men rarely. I see that happening a lot now where, you know, men are coming on board to stay at home. But the women who made that decision because ultimately it's the best financial decision for them. You know,
Right.
daycare is ridiculously expensive. Gas to and
Yeah.
from, you know, is expensive. So when you're working with a budget and it works for the family, then it works for the family. But it also needs to work for you as an individual. And it sounds like with her relationship, that's exactly what's working, and that is what that model needs to look like.
Yeah.
Right.
Awesome. Yes, and you mentioned the daycare thing. Oh my God, how many of you have to pay daycare? Like that is expensive, and that's one of the killers. Like when I look at when I used to look at my expense and I look, okay, and listen, I'm naming them out, and you tell me if there's any need or wants here. I'm talking about the rent. I'm talking about the car payment. I'm talking about the car insurance. I'm talking about, well, we need gas for the car to run. We're talking about daycare and food. Now tell me, I
Yeah.
mean, I'm not talking about the
Hold
extra.
on.
I'm like, how do I do this? Like, where do I go? What else do I need to do? I mean, I have one job. I started to do another job, and it's like the ends wouldn't meet. And I'm like, no, something has to give. And that's when I turned to like the stocks. I turned even in this crisis, like the fact that I haven't worked for how many months now since March. I thought that life would have been AY for me, but thank goodness it's been the opposite. And it's just because of the choices that the drastic choices that I decided to change my life. I mean, I couldn't do it anymore, and it's working. And I know there's only room for improvement, like Shanisha said. So, anything that you guys want to add to that? Like,
Yes, I definitely want to add to that. I definitely feel that self-reflection is extremely important because if you're working on something and it's not working, you have to ask yourself, okay, why is it not working?
Mhm.
What can I do to change it to get better results? So you need to have that honest conversation with yourself on how to come up with a better plan to get better results. So self-reflection is extremely important. Anything that you
Dominic, I'm
practice,
not sure, but I don't know for anybody else, but I can hardly hear you. Your internet is like going in and out. Anyone else having that issue? Can you hear me?
I couldn't hear.
you say you couldn't hear me? Can anybody hear me now?
Yeah, sound better.
Okay.
Can
I
you
said
hear Nicola?
I can hear now. Yes, I'm like 5 minutes home, so I
Yeah,
should be
that's
settled
fine.
in a bit.
self-reflection. I think everybody should do self-reflection, especially when if you're working on something and you're not seeing results. You need to go back, see what you're doing, and see what you can change to get better results. Because sometimes when you plan something, it doesn't go your way. So it is very important to take the time out, have that honest conversation with yourself, and come up with better results or come up with better ideas to get better outcome for yourself. So you need to self-reflect, have that conversation with yourself.
So, in terms of budgeting, is there like a percentage like of your income? Like, what if you're working less than what your expenses are? Like, how do you budget?
So pretty much,
There's the
so
50,
if you
30, 20.
Can you please repeat that, Nicola?
No, no, go ahead, Dominique. I didn't realize Dominique was taking that one.
so first you need to calculate all your expenses. Then you need to calculate your income. So in all your expenses, you need to see what you could eliminate. You need to you need to prioritize what is mandatory for you to live, and everything else could go. And that's how you make. That's how you could make your debt kind of eliminate or find better ways to replace the unnecessary things that cost less. So you need to
So,
analyze. You need to analyze what your expenses are and find out what's priority.
anything else you want to add to that, Nicola?
Now, Dominique is on point because I like Cleo, where you said in the beginning your needs. You specified your needs, and there were legitimate needs that we all have. Sometimes we make the mistake between needs and wants. It's really about prioritizing. I know the 50-30-20 rule actually works, and it basically says 50% goes towards those needs, your rent, your car note, your mortgage, whatever that is. The 30% actually goes towards entertainment, which is, and whatever it is you splurge on, because even COVID, we realized during this time, people, except for me, because I'm an introvert, but people love to go out. People love to, party and whatever it is. And the thing about budgeting, why most people do not do it or is not consistent with it, is because it's painful. Like, we're basically taking things away from you, like you're a child. And so if you still allow yourself to still have some fun and still have some spending money and still splurge a little bit, then that's that 30%. And then the 20% goes towards your savings. I think when you can start off that way and realize you're not limiting all fun, whatever that fun looks like for you, then it's easier for you to start managing. Set small goals, have small targets in mind. Maybe it's gonna be $100 every paycheck, however often you get your paycheck, as opposed to saying, "Oh, I need to get $5,000 for the year." Because when you start thinking of those huge numbers, because huge 5,000 could be huge for some, small for others, relative for others, who knows? But you want to set something that's tangible for you to actually do as you're looking at what those savings needs are. Because if you're really just trying to save without a goal, then you really don't know if you're doing good. And at least, you always praise yourself as well. Always give yourself the kudos on the pat when you actually accomplish a goal, regardless of how small it was. If I want to save $20 this week and I save my $20, you best believe I'm doing my happy dance. But if I was just like, oh, I want to save some money, who knows what that's going to equate to? And if I'm even going to save anything, or in my mind, is that even powerful enough, because I really didn't have anything that I was shooting for.
So in terms of savings, would you have that taken out? Because I know, like when I used to work in New York for the city of New York, I joined a credit union and I had them take out like $100 every paycheck, and I would have them separated like to three different accounts within the credit union. So like I would put $50 in one, $20 in one, and $30 in one every paycheck. So would you advise for us, like for someone who is trying to do that, to do it automatically, or
Definitely.
Absolutely.
I think that using the pay.
Absolutely.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was saying that I think that using the pay yourself first formula is something that is super underestimated, you know. And so the way it goes, for those who may not know, is if you want to live, if you want to be dead broke, you just keep saying some days till you run out of days, right? If you want to be live paycheck to paycheck, you save 10% of what you earn first. If you want to be comfortable, you save 20% of what you earn first. And if you want to be wealthy enough to retire early, then you save 30% of what you earn first. And I think that that's super important. And by the way, I don't want anyone to feel like, oh, I can't do 30, so I'm not. No, you start where you can, right? That's important. You do what you can. If you've never saved $1,000 before, you know, then you can't have $1 million. You can't have 100,000. You got to go at your pace, you know. And so it's important for us to remember that. But definitely trying a goal and trying that. But if you don't pay yourself first, there's no way that the budget will permit, right, at all. Because what happens is that you're going to spend the money on the needs and the lifestyle you already created, and then try to save after, but everything is already done, right? But if you remove some of the money, lose it, and you have to work with what you have, you get creative, right? You realize that some needs are, all right, well, maybe I do need toilet tissue, but I don't need Bounty today, right? Maybe I just need the 99-cent kind. You understand? And that's when we really start to kind of get creative and when looking at our needs and wants.
okay.
On that 10%, that is exactly what I do. Remember, we were talking about that 10%. 10% of the gross pay is what I use. I mean, even though I'm not the one bringing in the paycheck, but the 10% of the gross pay is what I use to pay myself. And when I say myself, I mean that is money that is set aside.
Absolutely.
And that, go ahead, and I'm Dominique.
I just want to say something really quickly before I leave because I have a client.
Yeah.
Just make sure if you're going to put money into a savings account, you do not have access to that money.
Absolutely.
Because you're going to be tempted to go into that savings account that you have your checking account that is joint with. So there's no point in putting in a savings account when you have easy access.
Exactly.
You can put it in a savings account where you do not have access, no debit cards. The only access you have is online banking.
Exactly.
Do not link it up the same checking account, same bank. You're not gonna go nowhere with it.
Tell me about it.
So,
I'm guilty.
Do it to yourself. You need to open up a bank account where you have to take the bus, train, airplane to go get money.
Exactly.
You need to go get a plane to go get that money. All right, and direct deposit, and you got to travel to go get the money. That's what you need to do. Do not put in the same account that you have your checking account with. It's not gonna work. Good night. I have to go.
Thank you, Dominique, and we will see you again for sure, because, you know, that's how life is. So thank you for coming today, and you enjoy your evening, okay?
Thank you so much, guys. Have a good night.
Okay.
Good night.
You know, he said something wherein I used to be so guilty of that, where because I had a savings account linked to my checking account, and I used to do this thing called Digit. Anybody knows about this Digit thing where you have, it's like an online banking. And even if you want the money, it takes a while, a little, you know, at least 5 days or something like that for you to get the money. And I was doing well with that until like when I made a transition, you know, from one place to another, I had to go back to that. But luckily I had that things I could, you know, fall back on, you know.
Yeah. I understand the same because right I have a bank account yet, but my family is going to open a savings account for me and I already want to spend. That's not in it yet. You know what, going into the savings account, so I'm going to have to make sure that I don't have the accounts, or else it won't really make sense to have the accounts open.
Right. So you gotta discipline yourself now. But to hear what you said, you actually want to start spending. The money is not even set up yet. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Well, we just have to be disciplined. It's just a mind thing. Where do you want to be? Anyone have any feedback?
Be mindful
Wait,
to
Kenneth, who's that?
in accounts that there are there are limits. You know, there are limits on withdrawals as well, and so you don't want to end up having to pay a fee to use your own money. So that's something that I know bankers do a very good job of explaining, those federal limits. But we still see a lot of customers that are paying the bank an arm and a leg because they go into that savings account too many times in that, statement cycle. So, he has a valid point about how you're accessing the account. One, it's supposed to be saving, but two, you don't want to end up paying fees because you're taking money from that. You went into that account too many times in that statement cycle. Because I'm not paying a fee to get my own money. It's just not happening.
That is so right, so true. I always say that. Why should I be paying? Because I know that some banks some time ago, even without having reached a maximum of whatever policy they have as it relates to an account, they were thinking for charging people to get their money. And I'm like, why should I bank somewhere where I have to pay money to get my own hard work money? Like, it's not gonna happen.
Or if you don't make a deposit within a certain time, you're being charged a fee.
Well, that too, that too. So that's why we have to be careful with some of these accounts, right, Nicola?
And those banks I avoid, because if I am going to have to pay a fee, if I don't make a certain deposit within a certain time, then I'm being penalized for it. Then I am not going to open an account with your bank. I am not going to do it.
Exactly. I think that another thing to keep in mind is that when saving, you establish a savings, like a emergency fund savings, and then you have that long-term saving, but that either it's going to be in a high yield interest account or in an investment, right? You don't just have it sitting in an account, even though you have no access, because really you're going against inflation. And when fighting against inflation, you're gonna lose unless you position your money to win, meaning it's going to be an account that's in a higher position than inflation, right? So if inflation's at 2%, your interest rate has to be above 3% in order for you to even break even, 3% for you to break even, right? So that's important for you to understand. All right, this is an emergency fund. This is something that's a little bit more liquid, but I still want to have less access to it. And then this is an investment account. This right here is something that's for the long term. You think in 30 years out.
About that. Let's see. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. I was just trying to clear the feedback. Okay, thank you, guys. So when there we go. I'm sure not hearing the feedback right now, right?
It's good now.
Okay, great. All right. We do apologize to the audience that's listening for the issue with the feedback just now. So I'm sure that we have corrected that, and we do apologize. So as Shanisha ended on that note, like Nicola, she's like a banker. Like, so those banks, I know that sometimes when they're offering those accounts, most times they're telling you that, oh, you have to have an account where a certain amount of money has to be coming in deposited on a monthly basis. Now, how do we avoid that? Because if we're trying to save, we're trying to get out of that poverty mindset and trying to do everything. How do we get out of that bind? Nicola?
Oh, sorry. I was trying to get off mute. So it depends. So gone are the days when the bank actually tells you exactly how much you need to have in the account not to have a fee. I don't know of any major bank that doesn't have some requirements for you not to pay a fee for your account. So it could either be they're saying you need to go paperless, or you need to have direct deposit, or you still have those that you may have to keep a certain balance. But there are different qualifiers that doesn't necessarily say you have to have $2,000 this month. It could be you need to sign up for paperless statements, or you need to have direct deposit coming in, or you need to have automatic transfers coming in from, another account. So there are different ways for you not to have the fee, and you just have to see what works best for you. Student accounts typically are just that. There are no requirements other than the fact that you're a student, and most major banks are going to require some type of proof, whether that's a school ID or a transcript or a welcome letter or whatever the case may be. I personally have never, ever, ever had an account where I had a monthly service fee because I didn't meet the qualifiers. So you just have to be able to go on their website before you visit the branch, see what the qualifiers are, and see which one is applicable to you. And you may not need to have a checking account. It depends on, again, the usage for that account itself, because a lot of savings accounts typically are free if you keep $300. Yeah, if you're trying to save 300, it shouldn't be that hard of a goal to meet. You may not have it the first couple of months, and that's okay. So that's when you probably already have to make that decision and say, you know what, let me save this $25 every week, keep it on my mattress, whatever I choose to do till I get to that 300. But if you're looking at that specific checking account, there are different qualifiers. It's not all about the balance that you keep, and it's not all about how much money is coming in. It's more about the channels. So whether it's that direct deposit, or are you okay with paperless banking? So just take a look at it. In terms of how credit unions operate, I honestly don't know. I've never had reason to work with a credit union before. So I don't know what their qualifiers are, but major banks have quite a few qualifiers that is not just deposit limit based in terms of whether or not that account is free.
Okay, so you also mentioned a valid point here, because we're all talking about wealth. So you said that you never had any encounter with credit union, right? But is credit union a good idea? As you are being a banker, you're a vice president of that, I'm sure you know more. Is the credit union a bad thing to have?
Okay, so Cleo, I heard something about credit union and knowing more, but honestly, I lost you before and after that. Sorry.
Okay, I'm not sure. Like when I'm talking, there's a feedback. Can you guys hear the feedback? Are you hearing it?
I can hear you. On and off, actually. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what's causing the feedback. So there's like a terrible feedback. Are you hearing it, Shanisha?
Okay, that's good.
Okay.
I'm gonna mute until you say your question, Cleo. Hold on.
Okay. I'm wondering if it's from my end. Hello? Can you guys hear me?
We hear you fine now.
Okay. No feedback, right? No. Okay. All right. So Nicola, if you're there, the question that we do apologize, audience. I'm not sure technical difficulties that's going on today, so we're trying to make sure that we fix it or at least taper it. Okay, so the question I'm asking you, Nicola, is credit union a bad thing to have, so to speak?
Absolutely not. I just have never used a credit union because I started in banking 15 years ago with a traditional bank. Credit unions, I know their rates for a lot of things tend to be better. Their qualifiers for a lot of things tend to be better. The credit scores they look at for credit products and mortgages and whatever tend to be a little less stringent than major banks are. So no, I would strongly recommend to anyone who's trying to get into banking and want to know where to save their money. And this is going to sound very hypocritical, but I would actually probably say the credit union is going to be your best bet. It just doesn't work for me for a number of different reasons, and because I'm going to support the company and companies that I do work for. But no, credit unions are good. There, of course, with everything else, there are going to be some limitations. Clearly, they're not going to be as tech driven as major banks are. Clearly, if you travel, internationally, you may have some issues. I know for me, when I travel, it's important that I can actually use my account wherever, however, whenever, and reach someone. So there are different reasons why I choose to bank with major banks. But on a personal level, if I wasn't in banking and had to make a decision about where to keep my money, it would be with a credit union.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that input there. So if the guys who are listening, I do apologize for that, guys. So if you guys are listening and you're hearing, I'm sure there's some valid information that you can get from there. I mean, Shanisha, any other means and ways of saving or, going around debt or getting out of poverty?
I think one thing, well, we have to keep in mind that it's a full-fledged portfolio that we need to have in place. And so that portfolio must consist of these four areas. First and foremost, proper protection, right? I think that what it comes down to, especially our people, we kind of lack the generational aspect of wealth, right? So yes, you may be okay, you may be even good, and a lot of it, the bigger question is, will the person behind you be good? Will the person behind you be okay? So when we think about that, the topic of proper protection is important. What do we have in place as far as insurances go, right? And that can be in different areas, right? Whether it's life insurance, disability insurance. We underestimate, or maybe, well, no, not maybe, actually. We have to remember everyone is going to die, right? At some point or another, everyone's going to die. So since we know that that's a fact, why not protect what we know is guaranteed, to happen, right? For disability, there's a strong chance, right, that at any point one of us could, God forbid, become disabled, right? And imagine, and now you are the sole, because we talked about single moms. Imagine you are the sole breadwinner, right? What position does that put you in, right? So thinking about proper protection is so important. The next is growth, right? As I said before, we have to think about outpacing our inflation. Now, I don't just say, oh, this plan is going to be best for you, because I have to understand your situation and what may look, but there are different investment types, right? If your job doesn't offer you a retirement plan that may be beneficial to you, then you could probably look outside of your job, right? And get something on your own, right? They have IRAs, right? Roth IRAs, and etc. Then you have safety, right? You want to make sure that in your wealth plan, there's some safety, right? A lot of times people, they fear the market. And so because they fear the market, what they do is they're in the market, but they're in the market at the bottom tier, right? I'm talking like 100% bonds, right? And now bonds are not terrible, but they're not what they used to be, one. And two, so imagine you're getting the lowest percent. And last year, 2019, was historically the best year in history for performance of the market, right? So now you at the bottom tier, you're getting 2-3% only when the market is performing 20, 50, you understand? And so that's important for us to remember, right? And then last but not least, tax advantages. So now that we have proper protection in our wealth plan, and we have some growth strategies in our wealth plan, and we have some safety, right? We have to understand, well, how can we invest? Sorry, just go back to safety real quick. How can we invest where we're protecting our bottom line, but still getting upside potential, right? How can we, what's our wealth strategy? What can we do? How can we structure our plans to make sure that we're, again, protecting our bottom line, but then still having access to the highs of the market. And then lastly, tax advantages, as I was saying, is that, now that we position our money to perform well, we know that typically when you make more money, you're supposed to be taxed more, right? Although there are tax strategies and tax laws and tax codes in place to make sure that the wealthy people don't necessarily have to pay those same taxes in the same manner that we do. Well, how can we understand those same rules so that we're not taxed as much, right? Because imagine I'm making $40,000, you're making $1 million, and I'm paying more taxes than you are. You're paying $0. You might even get a refund, and I'm paying back $2,000-$3,000 because I'm somewhere in between, and not poor enough and not rich enough.
Right.
Our wealth plan must consist of those four areas. And I think that as important, that's what I was saying, that it's very important that we sit down because with a coach, because it's bigger, it becomes bigger than what we know, right? You have to really understand money to develop the relationship with money.
And one thing I want to add to that, Shanisha, very valid points there, is that people need to understand that spending is not the same as investing. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people, misunderstand that spending is not the same as investing. So,
Absolutely.
you know, we have to dig deep and think hard, what's the choice? What's the choice?
Exactly.
And I mean, one thing also that I know that some people, when they get their taxes, oh my God, they go like ham. The malls are flocked. Like, people don't understand that when you get your taxes, sometimes that's one of the best ways to start saving, even if you couldn't save before. I mean, what's your take on that, ladies? I mean, Nicola, what do you think?
Save or invest, whichever one you're comfortable with.
Exactly. And to your point,
Because,
no, go ahead. Sorry.
no, I said because remember, it's money that you didn't have,
Exactly.
you know?
Exactly. And I even the status about this today. Um, even with people getting unemployment right now, right? So many people are getting unemployment and it's more than what they typically make. All that little bit of excess money, that money should be saved because you were never even used to having it. This is a great opportunity for you to be saving, right? And when you get that tax return, you get that huge lump sum. That's money that you should be saving and use for investments, right? If you get $10,000 back because you have children, right? If you save for 2, 3 years, you can have your down payment for your home, right? And then every year you may have a decent amount of money, coming in. I mean, we have to think about, the decreasing as the child gets older, et cetera, and so forth, and the decreasing of the earned tax income credit and everything. We have to think about those things, but there's things that can sustain you, right? It's going to give you a jump, a head start. And so that's very important. So when that money that you're not used to comes in, that we put it to the side, but what we do is we spend it before we even have it in our account, right? Like the young lady was saying, forgive me, what's her name, Talisa, right? She was saying earlier, like, sometimes before the money even touch my account, it's already done, right? And so one thing my mom always taught me was, don't plan on money that you don't have yet, and that's important. We spend it in our mind first, and then we get real disappointed when the numbers don't add up.
Nicola, were you about to say something, Shanisha? Go ahead. And then Nicola can take it.
No, I was saying you were on mute when you were talking.
Now, I just want to piggyback on what you ladies said. Taxes for me personally, if you get a refund, that money should be either be saved or invested. Um, the thing is, investments can be risky. So you don't just like get up tomorrow and decide, oh, I'm investing this. Like, you're getting your taxes. You need to have had a plan in place. And if you don't have a plan in place, save the money. Whether that's going to be a CD or whatever it may be. I know there's some banks have, well, in this day and age, 1% on a savings account is actually pretty decent. And American Express, for instance, does have pretty 1.15 on savings accounts. So investment is hard. People, it's not hard, but if you don't know how to get into it, it can be hard. And so before you make a decision or before somebody talks you into something, because every time you turn around, there's a new trend, whether it's cannabis or it's this or something credit repair or whatever. Make sure it's something that you actually have knowledge of. For me personally, if I don't use the product, there's no reason for me to invest in it. So when you tell me about, P&G products like Tide and Gain and whatever else, I get that. Everybody's going to wash their clothes. So you have to kind of be strategic about how it is and when you choose to invest and how long you choose to invest, and get your financial advisors for that. And you don't have to pay an arm and a leg. You have coaches, but outside of that, you have financial advisors. In every single bank you can think of is going to give you access to a financial advisor. Are they necessarily going to give you a complete personalized look like a coach would? No, but at least you have somewhere to start. There's also, YouTube, there's Yahoo Finance, there's Yahoo News. There's a ton of different ways that if we're really serious about saving, we can start. There's Robinhood and every other little app out there that can give you a starting point. But taxes, any type of lump sum, bonuses, when I get it, I know I'm going to get it. I just probably don't know how much. But my thought process around that is always save, invest. I think it was Shanisha that mentioned about tax benefits. I've been in the US, I don't know, my son is 15, so I've been in the US 15 years now. Last year is the first year I've ever gotten a tax return. And that's because I had to do some things differently. I had to become an escort. You know, when I started my business, I was like, okay, I need to figure out how am I going to make my money work for me, because it really hasn't. And so with the help of a very good CPA and getting my business registered as an S Corp, I was finally able to start seeing how people are able to get money back. Now, am I saying everybody should run out and go get an S Corp or get an LLC or whatever it is? No. But what I'm saying is, you know, this game of finance, especially in this country, and when I refer to the US as a country, it's funny to me because I think of the US as a corporation. Like I literally see it as USA Inc. You know, it's all about business. It's all about money. And so I think, you know, you have to be strategic when it comes to money. You have to work with someone. I don't care if it's a CPA. I don't care if it's a financial advisor. I don't care if it's a coach. But you're not going to be able to do this game on your own. You can't just get up one day and say, you know what? I'm going to make it big. I'm going to go save this. I'm going to become this corporation. I'm going to do this. It doesn't work that way. You're going to need some help.
Well, you hear it from the experts here. I mean, we just got to make the sacrifice again. We got to, I always hear the saying that you got to spend money to make money. Is that how it goes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to say, I think that Nicola brought up a great point about, you know, which a lot of people don't get, is that taxes are in favor of the business owner. And that we live in, like you said, in a place that's a corporation. This is one big corporation we live in. And if the place that we live in operates as a corporation, this country operates as a corporation, you have to think, the world, is it more in favor of the employee or the corporation, the business owners, right? And so again, like, it's not saying that everyone needs to be a business owner, but however, everyone needs to understand the benefits that the business owners are receiving to see how they may too benefit from it, right? And that's probably another conversation for another day, but I thought that was a great point to bring into perspective, because a lot of people miss that. You know, they could earn a lot of money out here, but because they don't understand tax laws, simple tax codes that are right in their face every day, they actually drop the ball, right?
So on that note, I mean, we got a lot to say, but on that note, I got 3 points. One is, you know how when you are employed and they give you that W-9, is that W-9 form to fill out? Is it best to claim everything now or don't claim anything and wait until tax time? So that one question, and that goes for both Nicola and Shanisha. And we will start with Nicola when I'm finished. So that's the first question. The second one, I know we mentioned couponing earlier, and Banil said that she did couponing. She saved a lot of money. And sometimes, even though we do couponing, we don't need all the things at the same time. So I was asking, you give those coupons away to people who need it, or you leave them somewhere they can grab it? That's the second question. And the third one is Nicola, and that's why I'm start with you. So I'll end the third question and start with you. How did you get to the point where you are? How were you able to invest in the assets that you currently own? Any tips that you can give us?
Excuse me, before Mr. begins, I'm really sorry, I have to leave now. I have to leave the Zoom call now, but I hope that everyone who's viewing picks up on some notes that the expertise and the amateurs, so to speak, have left, and use it in their and present. And with that, I have to leave, so I'm really sorry.
That is okay. And I hope that you also learned something, a thing or two from the experts that we had or we have still online. And don't be spending before you start the account.
All right.
Okay, I love you. Okay, so Nicola, the floor is yours. Starting with the first of the 3 questions, like how were you able to invest in the assets that you currently own?
You know, so, and I've shared this story a couple of times. It's like on my business page and stuff. I basically got to the point where I am because of fear of, weirdly enough, it can either hold you back or it can propel you. And for a long time, it held me back. But because when I just got to this country, life was rough. Knock on wood, my son don't remember, but my daughter was 4, 5, 6 during that whole time period where she remembers stuff. And I remember how I struggled, and I remember how there was no joy to life. And I remember that I wasn't happy, and I would go to bed miserable, and I would wake up miserable. And I knew there had to be a better way. And I knew whatever that way was, I wanted to be able to provide for my kids. And I didn't want them to have that struggle. And I think for me, it was just such a huge shock, because living in Jamaica, believe it or not, one would think that's where the struggle would have been. But my life back home was actually pretty good. And then I got here and I was like, holy crap. So when things got to the point where I wasn't happy, I knew that I had to start somewhere. And it had to really be, forget about what the experts said, forget about whatever metrics, forget about whatever figures. I had to do what I needed to do for me. And whatever that was, I had to save. And I just really, truly had to save. And I remember starting, there was a time when I couldn't work because I didn't have a work permit, and I had to figure it out. And so when I was able to work again, that's really how my plan was. If I was surviving on 300, then I don't care that I have 1,000 today. And I'm just using numbers. I'm going to forget that I have that 700, meaning it's going to go in the bank, and I'm going to survive on my 300. And it took a lot of sacrifices. It took, me saying no to myself a lot. To be honest, I didn't really say no to my kids. That's coming to bite me in the butt now. But it took me saying no a lot to myself. And it took me just really being happy with me, and not wanting to follow the crowd, and not wanting to do what the crowd wants to do, and being a homebody and being comfortable being home, to miss out on things that other people were doing, so I could save, so I could see money in the bank. And I didn't know what I was saving for. I just knew that what I wanted was money in the bank. I knew that what I wanted was, if something happened and I lost my job, I could at least afford to pay my mortgage. And that was like my only short-term goal in that minute. And when it got to the point where I had funds, I started doing a lot of reading, and I knew, for generational wealth is very important to me because of my kids. And I knew that whatever decision I made, I wanted it to be something tangible and realistic for them. And so my thought immediately went to real estate. And so that is how I got started with this. Back then I was with Bank of America, and an investment property came, foreclosed property came across my desk. And I was like, you know what? By then I had saved up, and I was like, this is going to be my daughter's college fund. And she didn't find it funny then, but now she's cool with it. I literally had the money saved up for her that was supposed to be to pay for her college. And I was like, yeah, Michaela has, a good couple of years to go. I'm going to take this money and I'm going to, buy this place. It was like $40,000. So, and I feel like when I did the math in my head, I was like, if I collect the rent until Michaela gets to, 18 and start college, then I'll be able to pay back, half her college money back. And so I literally went back to zero. I used all the money I had to my name to get that property, but it's because I knew I had a plan. That money wasn't going to be to splurge. It was going to go right back into savings to build my daughter's college. So it wasn't so much for me as it is for me knowing that I wasn't going to have my daughter not be able to go to college. So I had to be disciplined month after month after month. That's where it went. And as it started building up, then I started looking more into investments and other aspects. And to be honest, real estate is truly what does it for me. That is what has been working. So that's my go-to. But I still do ETFs, and I do different little trades here and there. But I stick to real estate because heaven forbid I pass away. That is something that my kids have without having to go through the loopholes and hassle and trust and the whole 9 yards, because I have things organized for them. But everybody's going to have their own thing that motivates them in their own way that they start. And for me, it was going through some really tough times, and knowing that as a mother, I wasn't going to let my kids have to go through that. And that propelled me. The fear of going back to how things were when I just got to this country propelled me to make some major sacrifices. And even today, life is never going to be roses, but it's definitely not where it was when I just got here. But I still am very strategic with what I do, when I do it, and how I do it. There are people who think I splurge. Honestly, I don't. I'm actually very tight and very frugal with my money. I do a lot of savings because of my kids. And because at the back of my head, I still have that fear of going back to where I was years ago. And I can't allow that to happen. So I have to be strategic every single day with what I do. I keep hustling, and make sure that the moves that I'm making are moves that are setting me up in some way. And at least my kids will have something at the end of it all.
And you are correct, because I mean, you going back to where you're coming from doesn't necessarily have to be on you. It could be a crisis like this, or something happen, natural cause that, whoops, all the money's gone. So we still have to be
I
very
don't know if
prudent.
it's just me, but I'm not hearing you clear.
Can you hear me now?
I hear you.
All right, you put your thing off mute, Nicola. Okay. If you can hear me, just respond via the chat. If you can hear me, Nicola, just respond via the chat. Everyone else can hear me, right? Okay, so what I was saying, I was just piggybacking on what you said, Nicola, that, for God's sake, something happened where you're fearful of going back to square one. And I'm saying that it doesn't necessarily mean that you would have to become a spendthrift and start spending unnecessarily, unwisely to go back to that stage. It could be a natural cause, like, for example, a crisis now, so you have to just always keep putting back, or putting in as long as you can, to keep it going. I'm not sure if she is there. Okay. All right. So anything before you go, Shanisha, because we're trying to wrap up now.
I thought that, a lot of what Nicola had said was pretty similar to probably what our own experience. And you asked a question about taxes. What was the question you asked originally?
Okay. So the question is that about taxes is that well, I asked Nicola how she was able to save the coupon in the taxes. I think was a question on when you sign up for that W-9 when you're employed and they give you that W-9, is it best to claim all your money now where you get most of the money on your paycheck now, or you leave it for when you file taxes at the end of the year, so you don't put a lot of dependence in terms of when you're adding up the numbers at that current moment?
Yeah, I think everybody's situation is different, and I don't want to box it for everyone. But what I will say is, from my perspective, you have to go now. Let it, if it's money, it's out of sight, out of mind, right? Can you guys hear me? You can't hear me?
You went out for a little bit. You cut out for a little bit.
So yes, I was just saying that it's a out of sight, out of mind thing, and so so I would just say you can just let it go. But if you know that maybe you have a plan, right, and that extra $200 every paycheck is really going to make a big difference, then you got to just structure at the end of the year when it's time to pay taxes that you have a game plan in place. So I think that it just depends on everybody's situation. Everybody's situation is different. I've always allowed them to take out prior to me being a business owner, that's the best thing in my opinion. Become a business owner saying you are in charge of how your taxes get paid to the government, right? I'm not going to let you go in and take all my money. So if it was me, if I had the same business mindset as when I was an employee, right, I would have had probably all my money taken out, coming in my check, right?
That's
But
what I
because
do.
I didn't have that mindset, I feel that I could have been in a bad situation had I had the money coming in, and then at the end of the year when I had to pay back, how would that have happened, right? So with my business mindset now, I want all my money. Give me all my money up front and let me owe you. Because if I have to, I don't want you saying, what happens is that when you pay taxes, you end up paying more to the government, right? And then that's why you get a refund, because they're like, oh, oops, we took too much. So here's back some of what we took. They don't even give you back everything, right?
Exactly.
So you're not in control of how much you actually get back. But if I was, and like I said, as a business owner, I get everything up front, and then I itemize everything at the end, and I tell you what I spent, and now I'm telling you how much I'm gonna pay you, basically, right? Based off your formulas, I'm gonna tell you how much I'm gonna pay you, and I'm okay with that because I'm in control. And so for the, like I said, for the average person, you know, it may just be an ideal situation for them to, you know, have them take out the most, you know, now so that they don't end up in a bad situation later because they didn't have discipline, or whatever the case may be. They don't have discipline, you know, or they didn't know, they were uneducated on it, right? And so for that situation, maybe, but if you're really educated on taxes, or plan to be educated on it, then, you know, why not take all your money up front and do what you have to do?
I mean, nobody told me that. It's just me being prudent, you know, doing my maths. I'm a numbers person. And I thought about it one day and I was like, why? And I mean, based on where this world is at today, why am I going to give them my hard earned money? And at the end of the day, I'm not getting back all of it. And for two, who knows? Maybe next year the laws are changed where I don't even get back any of it. You know what I'm saying? So I took the onus on me to say, you know what? Let me claim every penny. You put it on my paycheck right here and now. So I wanted to know if I did the right thing, and I'm sure others who are watching would have wanted to know, you know, what would be the best option. And I mean, like you said, everybody's different, so
Yeah, exactly. It's no two snowflakes are like. So if you didn't do it, it's not to say to go do that. It's really understand it and consult with someone. So I'm not gonna say what you did was right or wrong. It was right for you, and that's what matters, right? And it was right for you. That was it.
thank you so much. So before you go, Shanisha, I know that you have a class coming up on Monday. You probably want to say that if anyone on here who are listening would want
Yeah.
to join.
So Monday, June 29th at 7 p.m., I'll have a intro to stock class. So I think this is a great time. You know, I've been saying when the recession was starting, you know, and or the pandemic was starting, you know, this is a great time to get into the markets. You know, obviously with doing your research, not just jumping in blindly, but this is a great time to get, you're at home. You have almost nothing better to do but to educate yourself, right? You know, Netflix is going to be there, the shows are going to be there, but the opportunity is not always going to be here, right? So I'm having a stock class June 29th, Monday at 7 p.m. You can register if you go to my Facebook page, Shanisha Dixon Tyrell, or if you go to my Instagram, Shanisha's Changing Lives. Um, so that's my name, and then change with an S, changing lives, and then you can click the link in my bio and get registered for that. It'll definitely be a great information class, but then also interactive and an opportunity for people to really understand how to get started. I feel that a lot of times people, the biggest challenge is they don't really know where to start. And if they do get started, someone recommends an app, right? Like someone just tells you, oh, go download Robinhood or go download Digit, but never really gives you this full on details. It's just as invaluable as not even had started at all.
Well, thank you. Okay, thank you so much for that, Shanisha, and I'm sure and hope that you'll get the result that you need for that class. I'm sure people will join. I mean,
Absolutely.
I will be a part of it too.
People are taking advantage of it, and I'm glad for it. You know, I'm glad for it to see it moving. So thank you.
You're welcome, and thank you for taking the time out to join us this evening to share with us knowledge of wealth. And I'm sure we may see you again on this show, depending on the topic that we have in the forum. So once again, thank you. And
Absolutely, you're welcome. Thank you for having me, ladies. It was a pleasure speaking with you. Have a blessed night.
okay, you too. All right, guys. So Nicola, we're about to wrap up, and I just want you to take it out. In terms of you did answer the question about how you will be able to invest in the assets that you currently own, and she took on the question about the taxes, where I asked her if when we are employed and we fill out that W-9 form, what would be the best option if we should claim all the money now or wait until the end of the year where we can taxes the following year. So the other question, we started out with couponing. Do you have any information that you want to wrap up? No?
could talk about couponing for hours. But no, like I honestly don't know where to start because I haven't. I'm gonna be honest. I haven't couponed really in about a year and a half or so. But honestly, that's because my house still looks like Target. I still have, I don't have toilet paper. Don't ask for toilet paper because I don't have that. But I still have pretty much everything else. I have detergent and dish soap and razors and bar soaps and shampoo. Like I have it all. And so clearly I love couponing. I get very passionate about that. That's honestly probably my only hobby, to be honest. Um, I saved a lot of money. I saved a lot of money, and I think in the beginning you asked, what do we do with the extra coupons?
Nicola,
There
we're not
have
coming through.
been
Sorry to
times when
interrupt
I've
you.
left coupons in stores, but I'm gonna be honest. If you don't know about couponing and you just pick up a coupon on the shelf, it's not really doing much. Yeah, you save 50 cents for $1 here.
Nicola, are you hearing me? Can you
Can
hear
you
me,
hear me
Nicola?
now? I can
Nicola?
hear you. Are you hearing me?
Yeah, but you're coming through staticky. So I would want you to repeat. I know it may be lengthy, but please, if you could repeat, because it wasn't coming through very clearly. So if you could just repeat that so the audience could hear.
Yeah, I don't know what's the last thing you heard, but I was just saying I haven't couponed in about a year and a half, but that's because my house still looks like Target. I do. I know in the beginning you did ask, do we leave coupons and shelves and whatever? Yes, I do. But I'm gonna be honest, couponing is it's an art. Okay, it's a whole different thing. It's a whole different language, a whole different everything. And so if you just pick up a coupon off a shelf in a store, yeah, you save 50 cents here, $1 there, but that's not couponing in my mind now that I understand it, right? The point behind couponing is not spending any money. And if you do very minimal, in fact, I have couponed where the store ended up paying me, whether they paid me in cash, literally cash, like Dollar General, or they pay me in points like CVS or Walgreens, right? And so when you really truly get into couponing, that's the aim of the game, is to get things for free, basically. And can you do it? Absolutely. It does take work. It's a lot of work. Annoyingly so for my family. Now they don't go to the stores with me anymore. But I'm very passionate about couponing. For about a good 4 years, all I've had to pay is my water bill and my light bill and my cell phone bill. Like, I don't have to go to the store and buy detergent and buy this and buy that. And so that also helps me to save and helps me to really focus on the money that I would have spent at Target. I can keep that money. And there were times when I would invest it back into couponing again. And then there are times when I just save it. But I've also, 2 years ago, I actually was able to sell stuff that I couponed. And it is totally legal for you to sell stuff that you coupon. And it was just me trying a thing. I had a short-term goal in mind. It literally was to get enough cash without going into my savings so my daughter could get to England, right, for school. And so I was like, I have all this stuff. I'm donating stuff. I'm taking stuff to the church. I'm taking stuff to work. I'm giving my neighbors stuff. Shucks, somebody needs to pay me for this. And so I did Facebook Marketplace. And girl, I made like $3,000 in it wasn't even a week, And the reality is I hadn't spent $100 on the stuff that I got $3,000 for. So it's a very lucrative thing. I actually know somebody that opened a store. Now, am I going to go there now? Am I going to open a store now? I'm not going to do that. But it's good for me to know that I can open my closet and get whatever I want when I want it without having to get my debit card or without having to get some cash or without having to send my son to the store. As you can tell, I could go on for hours about couponing. I'm totally passionate about it. Totally, totally passionate about couponing. And I will get back into it. I will. I just need to clear my head and get some things settled.
Well, there you have it, guys. There you have it. I mean, I'm so impressed. And I remember when I first asked you, Nicola, how did you do it? I mean, I saved a little bit here and there, but I didn't get to the point where I was having the stores paying me back or, owing me whatever you encountered. But I mean, Vanille, she shared her story earlier, and she said she would have saved like $200 and so. So guys,
240. Yeah. Now let me just add, couponing gives you an adrenaline rush.
Oh God, yes.
It gives you an adrenaline rush. Let me tell you, it's a lot of work, a lot of work. And when you just start couponing, you're gonna say, "Oh, I just saved $2 or $7." It doesn't seem much, but the more you get into it, the more you save. And I
well,
love it.
I
Yeah, but
mean,
because of the corona, I'm not able to coupon the way how I usually do because there's a limit on everything, and so but and like I
going
was telling
practical.
her, I have not bought laundry detergent since 2017.
I fail to believe that.
I have not purchased
I'm in the
bar
same
soap.
boat.
Yeah. And whenever I'm going to Jamaica, my aunts already know, okay, bring the basic soap, toothpaste, shampoo, conditioner. I don't have to purchase those in stores.
Let's not talk about toothpaste. I swear, I don't even have anywhere to pack those things. They're just thrown
Okay.
down at this point.
Okay.
I remember you, Nicola. You got shelves. You got shelves. I remember you buying the shelves, putting them.
I
I
do.
was smiling. I was like, damn.
Mm-hmm.
She's like going ham. Like she could really, literally open a store, guys. No joke
Yep.
about it. Like
Mm-hmm.
there you have it. I mean, like we started the topic today. We had women and wealth, and I mean, why women and wealth? Like I said, we know men. They do work. They do most times work more than us, and like Nicola mentioned, in terms of some women want their independence in the sense that they want to have their own spending money as well, and we know some women, they are spendthrift, but we do have the ones that they spend very wisely. They shop on sales, discounts, and like we know in this crisis, we want to ask you. I know we're ending now, we're wrapping up, but we want to ask you: Are you cash crashing or cropping? Okay, so think about it. Think about it. Are you cash crashing or cropping? Okay, think about that. I mean, are you a spendthrift or are you spending wisely? Think about the sacrifices. Okay, it's not what you work, but it's what you save. And saving is one of the many ways to overcome your financial burdens, believe it or not. I mean, do you ask yourself, do I have an emergency fund? What if something happens to the car? What if the child gets sick, you get sick, or something happens, someone dies? Like, do you have money to bury that person? Now, these are the things that we need to think on. Like in the Jamaican term, I would say it's time to broke out of brokeness. You all understand what I'm saying, all Jamaicans who are listening. So in other words, what I'm saying, it is time to get out of that poverty mindset. It's time to get uncomfortable. It's time to sacrifice. It's like Nicola, I loved her story. I mean, looking at Nicola, I know her for years now, okay? And looking at her and her lifestyle, you'd have never thought that she was struggling. You would have never thought that, and it was just so, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, to hear her story was very uplifting, very uplifting. Okay. We hear of the different ways to increase our money today. And, one thing, like Vanille being a housewife, yes, we know some women, they are housewives, they stay at home, some by choice, some by controlling, like Nicola mentioned, that's another topic, so again, sometimes we tend to buy things that are on sales. What we need to do is to make sure that we're buying the things that we really need. Sometimes, yes, couponing, we stock up, but like Nicola, she did, she's trying to make some money out of it. Why not? You understand? She has a child who's in college and who's far away. Okay. So, guys, think about it. And I'm sure that you got some nuggets here today. And I hope that you learned something, a thing or two. And I have a link that I'm also going to add to this live when I'm finished. For those who are in the Chicago, Illinois area, there is a funding where you can get some money if you are in need, if you're struggling during this crisis. I will add the link. So for those who are in Illinois, Chicago, um, I think it's different cities, but Chicago is the main city in Illinois. I will post a link at the end of this live and you can access it. and you can get some help, some funds. Okay, so anything else before we go, ladies? I'm really happy to have you. I am so excited. Every week I get so excited, so motivated to come on here to share nuggets with people. Even if it's just information can be wealth to someone. So before we go, I just want to ask you ladies, anything else to wrap up?
Just want to say thank you for having me, Cleo, and I'll gladly come back anytime. It was nice meeting you all.
Okay, so I'm happy that you were able to, I was super, super happy. And like you said, I'm sure I'm going to have you again because you did introduce yourself as a life coach. So for those who didn't get that, she's a woman of many hats. Like, I lift my hat off to you, Nicola.
Well, thank you. I'm trying, girl. I'm trying.
Right. And that's what we're about. Women, we uplift each other. We have to start, uplifting each other, whether we're near or far, whether we know the person or not. We have to start learning to uplift. It's hard sometimes, don't get me wrong, because some people you just can't stand them. But hey, we just have to start somewhere. So with that being said, Vanille, can you lead us off in prayer? And guys, we want to thank you for watching, and I hope that you will continue to tune into us each Friday night for now at approximately 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. If you're in Jamaica, it will be like an hour behind. If you're in like where Vanille is at, Colorado, that's like 2 hours behind Eastern Standard Time. If you are where Nicola is at in California area, that would be 3 hours behind Eastern Standard Time. So for example, if it's 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, it will be 5 o'clock where Nicola is. It would be 6 o'clock where Vanille is, and in Jamaica, it will be 7 o'clock. So guys, we thank you. We love you all, and we're going to leave you with a word of prayer.
Father God, as we come before your presence today, we just want to give you all the glory. We just want to say thank you for allowing us to be here today so that we can pass on any knowledge, to our viewers. Lord Jesus, as we go about the rest of our evening, we're asking you to just guide us, cover us, and keep on watching over us. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. So
Amen.
guys, you have a great rest of evening. Enjoy your weekend, and I'm sure we will meet again. We will talk.
Bye.
Okay. See you guys.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.